I've been rejected a lot, but I'm gonna make $300,000 or $400,000 this year based on that rejection. I don't care. My family's living well because I'm willing to step out and get rejected. And the people I do serve, dude, they're stoked that I came and met with them and helped them sell their house when they couldn't on their own, or the last two agents couldn't sell their property.
Level or the amount of rejection you get is a direct correlation to the amount of income you make.
Dude, I know guys making way more money than me, making 700, 800, 900,000, millions of dollars doing this stuff, man. You can make a killer living. It's gonna be tough though. You got to get after it.
My guest today, David Rains, is a dude that we were just talking off air, David. You and I have been have this relationship from afar for a long time. And so this has been a long time coming. And I think you made a comment on somewhere, somehow. And I'm like, you know what? Enough is enough. Let's get this dude on the podcast. Let's talk about his business. So I appreciate you jumping on with me today.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me on, man. I regard you as the GOAT. And I didn't just comment on one. Listen, man, I'll be honest. I was spamming you with comments through all your videos.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, and it's funny, man, because how long have you actually been in real estate?
I'm going into my 5th year. This year is going into my 5th year.
Okay, cool. So you and I have just been, like I said, talking through social media essentially for a long time in your whole career. And so the story I want to tell David today is just your journey over the past 5 years to where you're at today, so that people at the beginning of their journey can get a lot of benefit from your story. So, I guess going back 5 years, tell us about your production journey, year one through the type of production you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. So year one, I started in August of 2017. And so the numbers I got are from August 2017 to the end of August 2018. Okay. That's about 15 months or so. So that year I sold 45 homes. I had commission of 287,000 with a volume of about 16 million. So that's my first year. Out of those 45 deals, 25 of them were for sale by owners, 5 were expired, 3 were from an open house, 4 were from referrals because I knew nobody, 7 were buyers, and 1 was from a door knock.
All right, so pause, because people are going to hear that. You just rattle those off so fast. You're talking about your first year in real estate doing 45 deals?
45 deals, yeah.
And most of them coming from people you had no relationship with because you knew nobody. So what market are you in? Let's just talk about year one for a second.
Portland Metropolitan, Portland, Oregon. Okay,
got it. So, because if I don't stop here and ask you some questions on that, everybody in the comments are like, dude, how did he do that? What's he doing? So
check this out. Check this out, Brandon. Mm-hmm. Not only did I not know anyone, I just got out of rehab a year and a half before I moved here from Los Angeles to go to rehab.
Wow.
I knew absolutely no one. The year before, I was a landscaper making $25,000 a year.
Unbelievable. And you made your first year in real estate $287,000 when so many new agents, and you know this, David, but so many come up with all kinds of excuses on why they can't make this happen. So let's just stay here for a second and unpack year one. So the sources of business, source those one more time.
For sale by owner, expired, open house, referral, which would be my sphere, buyers from open houses essentially and sphere, and one from door knocking.
Got it. So did you come from a direct sales background, or how did you get started in these sources when so many people are scared of of this thing? They won't even pick up the phone. Yeah. Did you get most of your business through outbound prospecting phone calls, or were you marketing to them?
No, man. Dude, let's see. 25 for sale by owners, 5 expired. That's already 30 deals out of the 45 that are straight phone calls to strangers I don't know.
All right. So how did you do that? Because that's what everybody hears me talk about. It's the path that's made me millions and millions and millions of dollars, and people still fighting it, So how were you able to do that your first year?
Well, so I had this landscaping gig where I was making like $2,000 a month, and the guy who actually owned the landscaping business owns the real estate firm I'm at. He was a friend of mine who found me at rehab essentially, and so he's helping me get my real estate license. I'm doing landscaping, making a little bit of money, and when I get my real estate license, he tells me, "Hey, this is the last month you're going to get a check." And I had like $600 in my bank account. This is my last check, and so I just started, doing some research. I didn't find you yet at this point, but I started going on YouTube trying to figure out like, how can I make money doing open houses? And then I heard about these people called for sale by owners. So I'd go on Zillow, I'd look up a little map, and I just start calling them and trying to figure out ways to get them to trust me to sell their houses. And dude, next thing you know, I'm listing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20 for sell by owners. I'm calling expireds and I'm getting them to trust me to be their real estate agent. I started making money.
Yeah, I love it. And so we'll get into the tactical things in a second, which is what people love. And so we'll get there. So what does your production look like today, or what was the production in 2021?
So in 2021, let's see, it was, let's check this out. The total commission was 287,000.
Wow, unbelievable.
So it was the same amount from the first year. And it's kind of, I'll tell you what I don't like about that, but my volume was 14 million and my total deals was 27. And I made an extra $18,000 from helping a friend get his license. I got a little percentage from that. So last year I made about 305,000.
Got it. So you made the same, but you did about half as much as the work. So you must have raised your sales price.
I raised my sell prices and I found my true value and I stopped discounting my rates.
Beautiful. So you said, no more am I going to win the listing by undervaluing myself. I'm going to go and earn the business through value delivery. Is that right?
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So let's talk about that. So tell me the sources of 2021 that you're working today still to this day.
Well, last year, I'll tell you, it was 9 for sale by owners, 2 expireds, 3 buyers, and 13 from my sphere.
Yeah.
So now
that's how it should be.
And that's what I want. That's the goal, is my sphere. Now this year, actually, I had reached out to you, man, because I think we all deal with this, where I start making all this money. I'm 30 years old. I made 300,000. My wife's the same age. She makes 125,000. So we're doing really good as millennials. My point is that like we got comfortable. I got comfortable. So I started making all this money. Dude, the last quarter of last year, guess what I did? Nothing. I didn't do anything.
Complacency.
Dude, and then this year started, and guess what I had? Nothing. I had nothing going on, bro. And I felt desperate. I was hating myself essentially. And I started thinking like, man, how many realtors go through this, right? You stop doing the thing that that got you the business when you get the business. It's silly, right? So this year I started off slow, man. I'm only at I got 6 or 7 closed deals, something like that this year. I got about 3 or 4 on the market, but I changed my tactics this year, and I'm going after essentially all expireds in my sphere. So far I have 6 expireds closed. I got about 3 or 4 coming up, and I've been nailing that pretty hard. So I'm back on the phones real hard. The reason why I kind of slowed up on the for sale by owners a little bit is because the way the market's been, they kind of getting deals on their own. So I just moved with the market, and I'm getting all these expireds, and it's starting to pick up.
100%. And the market's going to shift again. And there's going to come, like, we're probably months away from getting 10, 20 expireds a day, 10, 20 FSBOs a day, of which most are not going to be able to sell like they have on their own, like they have been over the past 3 years. So all your skills are going to pay dividends. Now, let me unpack complacency for a second. So talk to us about what you learned as you fought complacency and you woke up one day, smacked yourself in the face and said, David, get a grip. You stopped doing the things that got you the success in the first place. What did you learn through that, and how are you going to change moving forward?
Man, here's what I've been thinking about a lot lately. Here's what kind of like my mantra is. No matter how good things are going, I can't stop lead generating. Period. If I have a day where I don't lead generate, I took a day off, even though I could be busy doing a million other things in real estate. And so I have to do a minimum requirement of prospecting calls every day. Even if I close 50K in GCI one month or 100K in GCI one month, I cannot stop lead generating. And that's what I've been telling myself, because I know it's going to get good. I know I'm going to make a bunch of money this year. I know as soon as I put my foot to the pedal, I'm going to get these deals. I know I'm going to have months where I'm closing 10 or 12 deals, but I just have to remind myself, don't get comfortable, don't stop.
Yeah, I love it. And if I can add just one piece to the end of that from a coaching perspective to even add to your mindset, I think this will help. Yeah. And that is something I talk to all my coaching clients about. And the fact is, when we get paid is a result of what the work we did in the past. So yes. Complacency is actually living in the past. And so anytime we live in the past, it's always unhealthy. Past successes or past failures. Think about that. So commission checks is just a reflection of the past. And so we cannot operate today off of what happened in the past. And we always have to be looking forward, and how do we grow and how do we get better? Because we're in a 90-day business. You know, what we do today, we get paid in 90 days for. And so that's how I look at complacency with realtors, right? We make a bunch of money and then we stop doing the very things that got us all the money, but we forget, because it takes a little time for you to run through the money. And then you have to rebuild the pipeline, because we forget the 90-day cycle and how pipeline maturity works. And that's why you're paying the price for it now.
Yep, I sure am. Yep, it's a very humbling experience. The beginning of this year was super humbling.
Yeah, I love it. So, I mean, at least you learned, right? I mean, the learning is in the doing. You went through that pain, so you got better through it. That was the positive. Absolutely. So tactically, you're really niching down to expired listings. Break down your strategy. What are you finding that's working? What are you saying? Most importantly, how are you saying it? Let's spend the time on how do we set the appointment, and then we'll talk about the appointment.
Sure. Yeah. So every day I come in, I get on Vulcan 7. I start off with the new expired leads. So I'll just create a call sheet from those, start calling through the new ones. I typically will, if I get somebody on the phone, I usually will start off with, "Hey, may I speak to Brandon?" Sure. Hey, yeah, I was calling. My name's Dave Rains. I'm a local real estate agent. I was calling because I saw your home there on 52nd come off the market. By any chance, is that coming back on the market this year?
I love it. We don't know yet. We're thinking about it.
Okay. Well, I was curious to know, were you only asking 500,000 for it?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And it didn't sell?
No.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm looking through the photos now, and this thing looks awesome to me. Was there like something that came up during the inspection that would have caused it not to sell? Because I don't see any reason why this thing shouldn't have been gone 90 days ago.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I think it was our agent.
Oh, well, Brandon, unfortunately, I hear that quite a bit. Well, let me ask you this. If I was able to come across someone or find someone that would give you, the $500,000 that you're looking for, would you still be interested in selling?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Well, hey, let's do this. I'd like to come by, take a look at the property, kind of see what you got there, and then see what I can do after that. Do you have any time today at 5 or maybe tomorrow at 3?
Awesome. I love it. So yeah, man, it sounds familiar, right? You're running the play. And here's the key thing for all of you watching this. If you're a new agent or an experienced agent, you probably heard David's words. Like, I know you probably heard what he said, but the key thing, David, that's working for you is how you're delivering what you're saying. And you're coming from a place of curiosity. And curiosity over the phone sells. It's the best tactical thing that you're doing that allows people to open up, because the way you're reacting to the questions that you're asking is phenomenal. Because the more curious you are, the more people are open to telling you what's going on, because you're like, you're kidding me. That didn't, almost assuming like it should have sold, that 500 was too low and we shouldn't be having this conversation, but here we are having the conversation. So are you doing anything outside of calling that's leading you to either generating a lead or generating an appointment?
Yeah, I have a little system, Brandon. I have I have follow-up folders through Vulcan. By month and week. So let's just say, for example, there was no way I can get you to a consultation or you weren't interested or whatever, but you were like, you know what, just give me a call in like 6 months, dude. Like right now, I just want to take a break, whatever, I'm going to follow up with you in about 2 months or so. I'm going to put you in a follow-up folder. And after I do my cold calling in the morning, then I go straight to my follow-up folders. But I'm also sending you evidence of success. So every time I get a sale, you're getting my postcard with my face on it. And if it's an expired, there's going to be some type of review on there about what I did. I also have I just created an expired listing website that I think is pretty good. I think you'd like it. So I'm going to send them that link as well, so I can separate myself as the expired specialist, essentially.
What's the site so people can check it out?
Secondchancelisting.net.
Cool. Yeah, we'll check that out. We'll link that in the show notes beneath this video. I love it. So you're winning through influence.
Yeah, I'm following up, I'm texting, I'm calling. Sometimes I'll send cupcakes if it's a really good lead. If I get a consultation, I'll send cupcakes before I show up. Anything I can do to stay in touch. If I get a new sale from an expired and when it closes, I'll get a review from it on Zillow and I'll copy and paste that, print it out and mail it to them. Different things like that.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk about follow-up and then we'll talk about the appointment. So how many of your appointments percentage-wise, I don't need the exact numbers, but get us close. Is it more often that you're getting the appointment from the very first conversation, or are you finding most of it comes through follow-up?
50%.
50? That's pretty high.
I'd say 50. If it's probably around 50-50, 60-40, the follow-up, heavier on the follow-up. So about 40% now, 60% follow-up.
Yeah. And that's still pretty high. And that's just a testament to your skills over time that you're able to set appointments on the first contact, because the next principle is tell the audience, David, how much better conversations get when you're the first conversation the expired has versus the 20th.
You gotta be on the phone at 7:58 a.m.
You have to.
If you're not the first, then you gotta be the last.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So if I'm the first person, like today, there was a guy, I was the first person to talk to him. I know he's going to get like 40 more calls today, but I set a good impression. He's interested. I sent him my website, but he'll remember me. By the time you get to like the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, you're so tired and over it. Like, you're not going to remember any of the names. You got to be the first person, and what I mean by the last is if you called someone that was a past expired and you're just following up with them and you're just the last person to stay in the race.
That's right.
It's the first or the last, kind of.
Yeah. And I totally agree. I mean, if we were to break down your first contact appointments, I bet you we'd find, if we did a data analysis, that the vast majority of your first appointments were on conversations that you were the first or second voice.
Most likely. Yeah. Higher percentage there.
Yeah. All right. So let's shift over to the appointment. So you set the appointment, you go on the appointment. What are you doing to win the business?
I do it in two parts. So I do, and I just created this year. I have what I call like my consultation process. So it's in two parts. The first part, because it's low pressure, because I can get people on the phone to agree to a consultation for me to help them identify why their home didn't sell, not for them to hire me. Yep. Right. So it's like, hey, Brandon, listen, I know you're not interested in selling right now, but I'm sure you're probably curious to know why your home didn't sell. Right. And they'd be like, yeah, like, I'm so confused. I'm like, let's do this. Let's set up a consultation that's completely pressure free. And I'll spend about 15 minutes or so taking a look at your property, and I'll help you identify why it didn't sell and what you'll need to do next time you decide to sell, whether it's in the next week or within the next year. Does that work for you? They'll say, sure. Yeah, I'm just curious to know. When I get there, my first consultation is literally looking at the property and understanding their situation and building rapport. I don't bring any paperwork. I'm not trying to convince them I'm the best person in the world or any of that. I just want, as soon as I get in front of them, my chances of getting it are like way higher than anybody else, right?
Yeah.
The second part of the consultation is actually me going back to my office, doing some research, seriously trying to identify what happened. It's usually price. We're trying to identify what happened, then go back and then explain to them exactly what happened, why it happened, and what needs to happen next time, and then how I can help them with that if they'd like me to.
Yeah, super, super smart. I mean, it's the same thing that I found works the best that I did in my own business that took me from like struggling trying to set these in theory, like these qualified super persons ready to sign a contract BS stuff that a lot of people are out there talking. It's like, get the face-to-face appointment, run a 2-appointment strategy, do a consultation, understand pain and their need, right? Really do a needs analysis, go back and then present the facts and offer them to help, right? And so I love the approach. I love it a lot. And
I also
so,
think sorry to cut you off. I've had times where I've had to show up 4 times.
Sure.
And also too, I think we could better serve them if we've seen their property first and we know their story. Like, it's the same thing with the preview appointment with a for sale by owner. You're building rapport while you're there. You've seen the property. Next time you talk to them, you're going to have way more data and have a better understanding. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the truth. You're 100% right. And I agree with you 100%. And here's why I agree. The fact is this: there has never once in the history of real estate sales where an appraiser went to the property and during the first meeting handed the seller the appraisal report. It's never happened ever. See how funny that is? But what trainers and coaches are doing is they're training their people to go to the appointment and somehow never seeing the home, never meting with them, being able to deliver, right? It doesn't make any sense.
I agree.
So
I've told sellers, they'll give me numbers that don't make sense from other realtors. I'm like, how many times did this essentially the realtor came with the comps, and I'm like, listen, how in the world were they able to pull comps on your property? They didn't even look at your house, drive around the neighborhood, drive by the other comps. How did they do that? It doesn't make any sense.
And that's why there's 0 financial institutions in the world that put any credibility into a realtor CMA, because it doesn't make any sense. They don't trust us, and they don't trust us because we're trying to convince and sell people instead of serving them with actual data. You know what I mean? Like an appraiser does. So anyway, that's a whole topic in and of itself. But so as you look ahead, I mean, what is your goal? What do you think you feel like you can get back on track? Like, what is your goal for 2022?
Yeah. I felt, well, my goals that I set for this year, I'm realizing like, my goal was 50 this year. And I set those goals last year and I realized like, I shot myself in the foot because I should have been preparing for this year in October of last year. Right.
That's right.
Like you said earlier. So if doing 350, if I get 350,000 this year, that would be good. But I'd like to do $500,000. I'd love to be making $500,000 from referrals, just straight referrals in general.
Yeah, I love it. And obviously, well, let me ask you, what are you doing to communicate with your database to generate referral business?
That's a good question. I'll tell you one thing I'm doing next month that I do twice a year. Next month on June 18th, I have my annual spring family photos. And so I hire a photographer who's my wife. Don't tell anybody.
Sure.
And they know. And so I call my closest clients, the ones who send me the referrals, the ones that I really like, the ones that I have dinner with. And I invite about 10 to 15 families and I get them professional photos. I do that in the spring and I do that in the fall before Christmas so they can send out postcards. Every month I send them a letter. So kind of about my life, like when I bought a house, I sent them a picture with my family and a letter thanking them and telling them, hey, without you, I wasn't able to purchase this home. So every month they get a letter from me. And then every time I make a sale, they get a postcard from like a recent sale or something like that. And
evidence of success. Yeah.
Evidence of success. And then like this week on Wednesday, I got a buddy who I've sold 4 homes for. We're going to play tennis at my house.
Love it. I love it. You're staying top of mind. You're just serving this community. You're continuing to nurture and communicate with them on a consistent basis so that when they think of real estate, they think of you and they don't go to Zillow, right? I mean, that's the whole key thing. And so you're building a client base the same way a CPA does, right? The same way people like doctors do, right? They have a practice, and that's what you're building, David, which is really cool to see. So, man, I could talk to you for a long time. I guess the question I have for you is there's a lot of new people getting in the industry and as social media continues to evolve, there's a lot of different voices and there's a lot of options out there for new agents on how they're going to grow their business. most of which is telling them not to do what you and I are saying that works so well. And they should just, take half naked pictures on Canva and look all sexy and try to build a business by building a brand.
On
Talk to
social
us
media?
about, on social media.
All
Tell
right,
us the reality of
yeah.
your thoughts.
Here's the reality, Brennan. I have not had a single social media platform in 4 years. I haven't had Instagram. I haven't had Facebook. I haven't had TikTok. I deleted all that stuff. Now there's some value in it. And sometimes I wish I did have it, but I decided for personal reasons not to have it. So listen, I've made $0 on social media and I have no intention on doing it. I think the brand new agent, I mean, you've talked about this a lot. Like you just got to suck forward. You just got to go through the pain of not being great at this for 6 to 12 months or whatever time it takes. You got to get on the phones. You got to shake hands. You got to kiss babies. You got to talk to as many real human beings on the phone and in person as you can. And the numbers are just going to work out. It's just a numbers game. It's a contact sport. You got to talk to people in real life every single day.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. Why do you think that is so difficult for 90% of our industry to accept?
I think people are scared, man. And so am I.
Yeah.
Like it's
Sure.
scary. And but you got to have courage. You got to step out in front. And here's another thing. Why I think too, like maybe in our society, man, people have gotten so accustomed to this virtual reality world where they're not actually talking to people and so they're not used to rejection because they're always getting likes on their pictures. Dude, you got to go out there and you got to look for the rejection. And
that's right.
let me just tell you, I got these numbers here. Since February calling expired, dude, I made 1,600 phone calls. I've had 12 listing appointments and I've only taken 6. Okay. I've been rejected a lot, but I'm going to make $300,000 or $400,000 this year based on that rejection. I don't care. My family's living well because I'm willing to step out and get rejected. And the people I do serve, dude, they're stoked that I came and met with them and helped them sell their house when they couldn't on their own, or the last 2 agents couldn't sell their property.
Amazing. I mean, if that was the whole entire podcast interview, the last 90 seconds of you talking, there's so many nuggets that David just dropped, you guys. And the biggest one was the level or the amount of rejection you get is a direct correlation to the amount of income you make. And that's the thing with posting on social media. There is no rejection, so there's no income. Yep. There's no income. There's nothing wrong with trying to build your brand, but thinking that it's going to get you income is a fallacy at best. It's a fallacy at best. You have to seek out, embrace rejection, because that is how you get to income, the same way we do with muscle growth. We have to tear down the muscle through failure to get it to grow. This is the same thing. So I guess that's the advice you'd give to a new agent, but would you add anything else to somebody watching this? If you could go back 5 years ago, get your license all over again. I mean, you crushed it your first year. Actually, you matched your production. Would you do anything different, or what advice would you give to all these people getting licensed right now?
I would say you got to get with somebody, whether it's a coach or an agency that are gonna walk you through this. And you have to. I'll be honest. I kind of sort of did this on my own ish. And I found you about 3 years ago, and that helped solidify the stuff I was working on. But you got to here's what I hear a lot. These agents get to a real estate firm, they hang their license there and they get no help. And they're stuck wondering, like, how do I get a deal? What do I do? Can I hold your open houses? And they have, and there's all these promises from the broker that they're going to serve them and give them training. Dude, if you're going to be giving 50% of your commission your first year, I don't recommend doing it past that. Then you got to get with somebody that's going to hold your hand for 12 months straight and teach you how to do this. You got to get with a coach, whether it's going to be with Brandon or it's going to be with another realtor that's a veteran that's willing to hold your hand through the next 12 months, because you're not going to know what the hell you're doing. And that's super important. I think it'll help keep more agents in the game if they either spend the money or find the person that's going to help hold their hand and coach them their first 12 months.
Yeah, I think it's great advice. And this is not a plug to get into my coaching, but it is to get into coaching. I don't care if it's me or somebody else. And here's why, David, check this out. I want your thoughts on this. The broker, the associations, and the MLSs don't have any incentive to hold agents accountable or to tell them the truth, because it goes against their strategy. Because if they tell them the truth on what it really takes to succeed, what are they going to do? They're going to leave real estate.
People won't sign up.
They won't sign up, and they're going to leave the brokerage. They're going to leave the business. And so it goes against their interest. And so when you hire a coach, you're paying them to tell you the truth, to confront you, and hold your ass accountable, because your broker won't do it. Period.
You got to be held accountable. What I do with my TC is, if I don't do X amount of calls per day, I have to give him $100.
Love it.
I have to. I started doing that this year. I must do that. And guess what? I'm giving a couple $100 away this year.
Sure.
But I have to do that. And you know what I would say to the new agent, you know, you've been really good at, Brandon, about being honest. Look, this is hard. It's simple, but it's hard work.
Yeah.
You got to be diligent. You got to be consistent. You got to be willing to take on rejection. And dude, I know guys making way more money than me, making 700, 800, 900,000, millions of dollars doing this stuff, man. You can make a killer living. It's going to be tough though. You got to get after it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this, dude. Well, listen, man, I appreciate it. I've been wanting to do this with you. I think this is just a matter of time before we got you on the podcast, but appreciate you coming on very, very much.
Can I give a tip to your people?
Sure.
We didn't talk about for sale by owners, and I know we don't have time, but I'm gonna give one tip that I used to get. I've probably sold about 75 for sale by owner homes that I haven't seen anyone do yet. I'm gonna give it to your people, man. Go out and buy yourself these.
Ooh, nice.
Listen, I'll give this to you. Go get yourself some for sale by owner signs. Get about 100 of them. Keep 10 of them in your trunk. When you go meet with a for sale by owner and you notice that they don't have one, when you're leaving from your preview appointment, say, hey, by the way, I noticed you didn't have a sign. I got a bunch of them in my trunk. Would you like a couple for sale by owner signs? Guess what? You know how many for sale by owners have told me, hey, Dave, you're the guy that gave me a for sale by owner sign. Dude, no one's doing it, bro. And it's cost you pennies and you will stand out.
Dude, that is a great nugget. Thank you for that. And it's so simple, but it becomes, you're impossible to forget. You're the guy that gave me the sign.
Yep.
Dude, I love it. I love it. Well, appreciate you, man, very much. You dropped a lot of nuggets on this. Hopefully you guys got a ton of value. And David, just want to again, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Brandon, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, brother.